Hey guys, welcome back to Turn Pages. My name is Jeremy, and today I am going to be doing a bit of a discussion video on the After series phenomenon by Anna Todd. But before I get into all of that and what the main topic of this video, I'm just going to quickly do a small, very incredibly small update and tell you guys Happy New Year. It is officially, well, it's been more, not really officially, but it is 2017 nonetheless, even though it is the 17th. But hi, it's nice to see you guys, or, it's nice to being seen by you, I suppose, would be the correct word to use there. But a couple of different things. As you guys can tell, my hair is in fact dyed. It was like a smoky blue color, but it has faded a lot in the last month. And I also have I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but I did get my ears pierced. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but these are actually tiny little mini skulls, and they're adorable, and I love them, and I do have both of my ears pierced. So that was a big thing for me to do as a person, because I've always wanted to get my ears pierced, and now they finally are. So I'm getting some new ones. My 6 weeks is almost up, so as soon as the 6 week is, which is the second week in February, I'll be able to take these out, clean outside of my ears, and then put some new ones in, which is going to be a lot of fun because I already have a couple of earrings picked out that I want to use. But this is the topic of this video, and I'm going to be talking about After and what this entire storyline is, as well as the controversy and hate that is attached to this particular story. Now, if you don't know what After originated on Wattpad.com, which is a really fantastic website where you can write fan fiction, where you can publish your own stories. You don't get paid for it, you just put it on there for people to read. It's fantastic. I have found so many great stories. I don't call them books, I just call them stories because they're not really books, they're stories on there and everything. But they're really, really great on there. I love Wattpad. They are absolutely fantastic site for readers who want to read good stuff but can't afford it. If you have a computer or internet access, you can read amazing stories. And even if you don't have, what's the greatest thing about Wattpad is you don't have to have internet to access books on there. That's what I love the most about it. But it's just really great. And excuse me one moment. I do apologize if I have to take a sip of water every now and again. I am currently getting over strep throat, and it is horrible. So please bear with me in this. Sorry. As soon as January happened, I got really sick after the holidays and everything, and the really cold weather and everything. Back into the video. Sorry about that. But After, basically, I'm going to tell you what the basic plot line of this book is. Now, first off, After was not originally a book. It was posted on Wattpad.com as fan fiction for Harry Styles as well as One Direction. Now, I was never, I'm still not really a One Direction fan. I was about to say fanboy for a second, but I was never a One Direction fan. I never listened to any of their music, and then once I discovered After on Wattpad. Now, I read the After story on Wattpad long before it was ever going to be books. Way, 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 way before then. And I remember when I read it, I read the entire thing on my phone. The entire story I read completely on my phone. I was obsessed with it. But I'll get into that in a little bit, but I want to actually tell you what it is, what it's about. The story of After evolves around a young adult. I want to say she's like 19 in the first book. But she's in her early 20s. Her name is Tessa Young, and she has this very reliable, very kind, sweet, honest boyfriend. But there's something in that relationship that just doesn't seem to be clicking. And her life really takes a turn, very dramatic turn, when she meets in the fan fiction version, his name is Harry Styles, but in the published book that you'll buy if you are in Barnes & Noble is Hardin Scott. However, and it kind of is a very whirlwind roller coaster romance that spans, I think, a year. I want to say about a good year, and it just goes through a lot of trials and tribulations on both sides. It was such a ride. It was so fantastic, especially because I haven't actually read this version of the series yet. I am about to start it. Just any day now, because I have the whole series. Because the fanfiction version was 3 books. There was after 2, and after 3. But the after books on Wattpad were so incredibly long. And for me, I didn't care how long they were. It was the fact of, I can't stop reading this story. I have to keep reading and reading and reading. You guys have to understand that after it got over 1 billion reads online. Over 1 billion people were reading this story all over the world. Okay, well, maybe not billions, but millions of people were reading this story all over the world. And it got her so incredibly popular that Simon & Schuster contacted her and said, "We would love to publish your story. Would you be interested in having your books published?" And she jumped on the bandwagon, and you know what? It's such a good thing that she did, because we now get to have the same wonderful story in physical copy, and it's just beautiful. I love these covers. I think I did haul the first 2 books at one point, but that's book 1, which is after the set, and obviously they couldn't publish the books in just 3 as a trilogy. The books would have been like way too long. Like, we're talking about like 700-800 pages each. It would have been impossible if they did that, literally. And so they did it in 4 books for the series, because it just worked out better that way. Book 2 is After We Collided, and I absolutely really like this cover. Love the purple. And then we have book 3, which I did get book 3 and 4. So these I don't believe I hauled. So you'll be seeing them for the first time. Book 3 is After We Fell, excuse me, and it's the biggest book of the series. It's huge. It is absolutely a fucking brick, literally. It's over 800 pages. That's the spine. You can tell how big a book is by just looking at this. Yeah. And then we have the last one, which is After Ever Happy. So, now we're going to talk about some of the controversy and criticism that has come with this series. Not only the published version, but also the fanfiction version as well. A lot of people who have been reading this, you know... Sorry, my Xbox was doing something. There's a lot of controversy surrounding Harry Styles and how Harry Styles is going to be affected by these books. Because every single book in this series, when it was published, was a New York Times bestseller. I don't know if these were all published all at the same time, but I think it's very, very interesting how our world is very rapidly changing in terms of literature. You know, fan fiction was never published, changed with changed names, and published as an original work. Now, this is very different in terms of example like 50 Shades. 50 Shades was originated as Twilight fan fiction, and then I don't know how she eventually got all published and how all that worked. I don't even think that's known. I think she just decided to. But basically, she changed the names from Edward and Bella to Christian and Anna, and she published it, and it blew up. Like, extremely blew up, and that's kind of how all that happened. Not that that had anything to do with it, but I just think it's really, really interesting that we are now living in a world where fan fiction is now being published as original work with changed names. That's one part I am not so sure. Personally, I have read 50 Shades, and I do not see the similarities that it has to Twilight. I think it is very much original. There are some quotes that are very Twilighty, but besides that, in terms of characterizations, plotline, anything like that, it has nothing to do with it. But what people have been saying about After in terms of the content is that this is an emotionally abusive relationship. This glamorizes and romanticizes abuse, and that millions of impressionable girls are being poisoned by the messages that resides within these novels. Once again, my Xbox was going off if you heard anything, sorry. Personally, I have never been in a abusive relationship before. I've never really been in a relationship before. So I'm not exactly the one to be able to say anything in terms of that situation. But having read these books, I do, when I was in college, I did have a psychology class, and we did talk about abusive relationships for about a good month, and going back and forth in terms of papers that I did for it. So I do know what a abusive relationship is and what a abuser will do to the victim. Sometimes it's intentional, and most of the time, and in some rare cases, the abuser does not know that they're actually being an abuser. Sometimes it's just subliminal. Sometimes they do it without even thinking about it. That does happen. But personally, considering that I have read this story so many times, I reread After on Wattpad so many times. I can't even tell you how many times I've read this entire story in the entirety of it. And it was just, it's one of the amazing love stories I think I've ever read, ever. I think it's up there with Pride and Prejudice for me. And I've actually never read Pride and Prejudice, but I've seen the movies multiple times in every adaptation of, possible. But I made this video because I just continued to get really angry that people were calling this an emotionally abusive relationship, and that a lot of people are saying, well, we shouldn't be reading books like this when this is basically shit and this is not good romance. This is not, people claim this is to be not romance, period. This is just straight up abuse. And I think it takes a lot. I think it takes a lot of people to look at something and just call it abuse. You don't just do that. That takes guts to just straight up say, oh well, this is abuse, without facts to back it up. Now, there have been facts and quotes that have been pointed out to the people that love it, and the fans and things like that, and they're taking things that were not abusive in the books, and they're taking it out of context. Like some of the things that Hardin would say, or Harry would say in the fan fiction, as you're taking it out of complete context. You're taking a line that was never said ever, and you're throwing it in like this is something dangerous when it's not. It's very, you don't do that. That did not happen. It really makes me funny that some of these trolls that are hating on this series, and I do say hating on, because if you go onto Twitter and go under the hashtag of suspend Anna Todd, another hashtag is stop the After movie, another hashtag would be After is abuse. You will find so many ridiculous things on those hashtags, and it's just completely ridiculous. This is one of the most amazing book series, because I know it's the same story, so I can say I have read the entirety of these books. I know what happens in these books without ever having to know what happens. I can go through any one of these books, read a couple of lines, and I know exactly where the story is, because I read the fan fiction probably at least 20-30 times when it was on Wattpad. I can't even tell you how many times I've read it, because I don't quite remember. I would just go back to it. If I missed those characters, I couldn't wait to, stop what I was doing in my life so I could go back and read about Harry and Tessa, and now in the published version it's Tessa and Hardin. So I just wanted to say that this is not abuse. This is romance. This is a whirlwind romance story. And I think throughout the 4 books, you really do get to know who Harry is, or Hardin is. I'm sorry. Well, Force of Habit, unfortunately. Tessa is a fantastic and absolutely amazing female protagonist. But what I really do like about Hardin is he is a badass. He's covered in tattoos. He's kind of a bad boy, and that really appealed to Tessa greatly. And it was just a very, very interesting. So, and there actually is a hashtag of hashtag Hessa, which is the ship name for Harry, Hardin, and Tessa. I did it again. Sorry. Force of Habit once again. But yeah, these books are really, really, really big. But I really like. They're just beautiful. They're just so pretty. And yeah, I love them. I love this story. But I will leave a link in the description to the fan fiction version of After if you want to read that version, because these books were edited. They were edited, and a lot of these were revised, because it says newly revised and expanded. So some stuff that originally wasn't even in the fanfiction version is in here, and stuff that was in the fanfiction version is not in here. So these were edited and revised. A lot of people have said that Anna Todd is a terrible, horrible writer, that she's just horrible and she cannot write. I disagree. I mean, if over 1 billion people around the world can read this story and keep coming back for it and keep rereading it, I don't think that's poorly written. I think that's I think that's a mark of a really brilliant writer. And the fact that these books are incredibly well written. They are this series does alternate between Tessa and Hardin's point of views, but the entire first book is entirely in Tessa's perspective, and I really liked that. Same thing goes with the After in the first After book. Fanfiction is completely in Tessa's, I believe. Maybe like the last 20% might be in Hardin's alternating perspectives. But if you're looking for, oh, by the way, these were published, like, these books were published as new adult, so these are now considered as new adult, as a new adult series. But if you're looking for something romance, if you're looking for something that is in college, because Tessa is a freshman in college in these books, I believe it says, yeah, it doesn't say anything, but I really, really love it. I really support it. I practically worship this series at one point, and I just love it, as I've said like 5 times now. So if you are really interested in After, if you're really interested in the fan fiction, I will once again have that down below if you want to check it out. But please do not pay attention to the hype. Don't pay attention to the criticism or the hate around this relationship. Just don't pay attention to what anybody's saying, and just go for it, read it for yourself, and form your own opinion. One of the biggest things about these books and this story is people will just listen to what other people have to say, and they won't form their own opinion. They'll be like sheep, and oh, well, if you say it has all those things, I'm going to believe you and not bother reading it for myself, because I'm that kind of bitch. There's a lot of people in this world like that, unfortunately. And that goes for people who hated Twilight. They never saw the movies, they never read the books, but they only, looked up a few reviews and said, oh my god, it's in there, blah, 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 blah. And we don't need another Twilight on our hands in terms of trolls. So I'm going to leave this video at nearly 20 minutes, and I will be back with another video coming very soon, because it's been like a month, if not more, since I posted another one. But I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.